recording.
No, wait, Kate, I can't hear anybody else right now. Can everybody talk?
Okay, we are live and we are recording right now.
Yay!
Hi, everybody. So we are live and this is being recorded and it will be put on YouTube when we are finished. Hi, everybody. I hope everybody's had a wonderful week. We've got a little meditation we're going to start with today, and we have a surprise guest. So
we have a surprise guest. There he is, our surprise guest. Can you hear me okay, Kate?
yes.
Yeah.
I can't hear anybody else's audio. Can you folks talk a little bit?
Well, we can hear me. You.
I hear you now.
Okay. Very good. Excellent.
So Kate,
Okay, so I just hit the go live button. We are having some feedback because we are in the same vicinity of each other.
Yeah, you
So,
can hear an echo slightly.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the headset on, so at least I'm not booming sound.
Right.
And let me, and things are moving a little bit slow today. So we are visiting company and we're using their internet. So that's why things are a little bit different right now.
we're on location.
Yes, we're on location.
And we got some very special things to share with you, some very special Seth historical gifts. And we got so many fun things to show you on the tape. Letters, art from Robert Butts, but we'll get to that in a little bit, so you gotta hang around a little bit. First, Kate wants to give a Seth meditation, is that right, Kate?
Yes.
And we're okay with the reverb, the sound's okay now?
Yes, everything sounds good. Now,
okay.
Why don't you chit chat with everybody a little bit, and I am going to help Peggy get on.
Okay, I love chit chatting, you know me. You chit chat. So I'm going to introduce everybody around. We have our stalwart friends, Seth, who have been with us since the beginning of this, and that includes Shawna Jackson. Raise your hand, shake your hands around. It's so good to see you again, Shawna. Last week was your birthday. Happy belated birthday.
Thank you. I'm 55 now, y'all.
Oh, wow.
I feel real good. I'm a happy 55.
You know what? You're almost grown.
Almost grown.
Well, I'm still young, so I guess that's what matters, right?
Yeah, that's right.
You know, Shawna, the first time we saw you, in the first months we saw you, Kate and I thought you were like in your 20s, maybe 30 at most. Like you're 55.
I agree. I agree.
You said you're 55. Seth is your beauty secret.
That's what I think. I think that once I started reading Seth material, literally time changed for me. I believe that. I believe that. I think I dipped out of reality and back into it. And, you know, from the time I started reading the Seth material, it has influenced my concept of aging, you know, and so much, you know. So I really think that has a lot to do with it.
Absolutely. You're an example of Seth.
That is really wonderful. I agree. I felt much the same thing.
Now let's also introduce. Are you getting a bad echo?
Yeah, we have an echo.
Okay, I'll turn off my side. You can hear me, right? Okay, just turn off the echo. I'll keep talking. Also, we want to introduce Mickey Lowe for people who don't know. And you are in London right now.
No, I'm in West Yorkshire. I'm the other end of the country from London.
Say it again.
I'm the other end of the country from London.
Oh, I'm sorry.
London is down south, and I'm up in West Yorkshire, which is up north.
West Yorkshire.
Yes.
So you've been with us since the beginning too of these recordings started 4 months ago.
I think so. I think so. It's really been a very big difference, a change in everything about my schedule, everything about my life.
Soon.
This has added to it in many, many ways. Yeah.
So those are two of our favorites. And sometimes what happens is people come and go as they need to. We get viewers from all over the world and different time zones. And we've been viewing all over Europe and South America. And you can't hear us
Too much echo. Too much echo. What may be happening is that since you have several computers on, each one is picking up frequencies from the other. The sound.
Yeah.
The sound feed. They're feeding each other, so it makes a reverb. Audrey is trying to come in.
Oh, Audrey. We got news for Audrey too. Now, can you hear better?
Can you hear us, Audrey?
Okay.
Oh, almost. There you go.
I'm gonna take you out then, and we'll figure it out.
So you're gonna turn off her mic?
I'm gonna turn
Hello,
off Peggy.
Audrey.
We can't get her. I can't see her. I got her on, and then she was deleted.
Okay. Well, you're with us in spirit. You're behind the scenes. That's even better.
There you are.
Maybe too, and watch from there.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello, Audrey.
Okay. Is that going to help with the sound?
Well, I don't know. We'll see. Kate, you may have to turn off your computer once you read your prayer because we're getting deep reverb in the.
I can't. I'm the main one. I'm doing the recordings.
Can you hear us better now? Can you hear us better?
Now that's better.
This is better?
No, it's still reverberating.
Okay. Well, how about I do this?
That's a little better.
Now, can you hear me over there?
I don't know what you're doing, Oshara.
Could you move her into to my office?
Why don't you guys go into the family room?
Because she's got all the stuff on the table.
I'll help you take it in.
Yeah.
I can go anywhere.
Okay, Kate is being sent to her room.
I'm being sent to my room. Where do I go? Oh, there's a
She's
bathroom.
going to take her computer to another room. We are so high tech. You know that. We can say that every week as we are going, you're killing my
Go ahead.
eardrums.
Whoop!
It's broken.
That's okay.
There's a power strip down there in the bottom.
That's all right. I just unplugged it. Close the door so I can't hear, though. Oh, look at you. Thank you. Yeah, I should be good. I'm 60%. I should be all right. Okay.
Well, we can hear you just fine.
Well, life is
Okay, here's
crazy.
both.
6 days later, we all watched as one of those mutants, Lensher, attacked.
That's much better, isn't it?
So now we also had Audrey join us. Audrey, now is somebody listening to a TV on the background?
Oh, yes. Let me turn mine off.
Mickey's
There you go.
busted. And Mickey
He's
was
not even in the room.
Mickey's busted.
Yes.
Okay.
I forgot to
right.
turn it off when he left the room.
Okay. Okay. Well, I would like to say hi to everybody on Facebook now that look at that. Mickey and Donald is behind me. All right. Right. I'm in a new space here. So say hi to everybody on Facebook. And if you have any questions, feel free to post them there. And after I'm done with this little meditation, we will take a look at all this. And Miriam, first of all, said, yay, Shawna, happy birthday. Woohoo. Did you guys do this while I was being techie?
Yeah,
all right.
I talked to Shawna and Mickey. Great time.
Okay. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into this little meditation. And first I'm going to read the text that Seth wrote. And I'm sure everybody on here has read this. It's from Seth Speaks, session 527. It's on page 77. And it's entitled Experiencing the Soul. And here's what Seth had to say. You can find out what the soul is now, therefore. It is not something waiting for you at your death, nor is it something you must save or redeem. And it is also something that you cannot lose. The term to lose or save your soul has been grossly misinterpreted and distorted. for it is the part of you that is indeed indestructible. We will go into this particular matter in a portion of the book dealing with religion and the God concept. Your own personality, as you know it, that portion of you that you consider most precious, most uniquely you, will also never be destroyed or lost. It is a portion of the soul. It will not be gobbled up by the soul, nor erased by it, nor subjugated by it, nor, on the other hand, can it ever be separated. It is, nevertheless, only one aspect of your soul. Your individuality, in whatever way you want to think of it, continues to exist in your terms. It continues to grow and develop. But its growth and development is highly dependent upon its realization that while it is distinct and individual, it is also but one manifestation of the soul. To the extent that it realizes this, it learns to unfold in creativity and to use those abilities that lie inherent within it. Now, unfortunately, it would be much easier simply to tell you that your individuality continues to exist and let it go at that. While this would make a fairly reasonable parable, it has been told in that particular way before, and there are dangers in that very simplicity of the tale. The truth is that the personality you are now and the personality that you have been and will be in the terms in which you understand time, all of these personalities are manifestations of the soul, of your soul. Your soul, therefore, the soul that you are, the soul that you are a part of, that soul is a far more creative and miraculous phenomenon than you previously supposed. And when this is not clearly understood, and when the concept is watered down for simplicity's sake, as mentioned earlier, then the intense vitality of the soul can never be understood. Your soul, therefore, possesses the wisdom, information, and knowledge that is part of the experience of all these other personalities. And you have within yourselves access to this information, but only if you realize the true nature of your reality. Let me emphasize again that these personalities exist independently within and are a part of the soul, and each of them are free to create and develop. There is, however, an inner communication, and the knowledge of one is available to any, not after physical death, but now in your present moment. Now, the soul itself, as mentioned earlier, is not static. It grows and develops even through the experience of those personalities that compose it. And it is, to put it as simply as possible, more than the sum of its parts. Now, there are no closed systems in reality. In your physical system, the nature of your perceptions limits your idea of reality to some extent because you purposely decide to focus within a given locale. But basically speaking, consciousness can never be a closed system, and all barriers of such a nature are illusion. Therefore, the soul itself is not a closed system. When you consider the soul, however, you usually think of it in such a light, unchanging, a psychic or spiritual citadel. But citadels not only keep out invaders, they also prevent expansion and development. There are many matters here, very difficult to express in words, for you are so afraid for your sense of identity that you resist the idea that the soul, for example, is an open spiritual system, a powerhouse of creativity that shoots out in all directions. And yet this is indeed the case. I tell you this and at the same time remind you that your present personality is never lost. Now, another word for the soul is entity. You see, it is not a simple matter of giving you a definition of a soul or entity. For even to have a glimpse in logical terms, you would have to understand it in spiritual, psychic, and electromagnetic terms, and understand the basic nature of consciousness and action as well. but you can intuitively discover the nature of the soul or entity. And in many ways, intuitive knowledge is superior to any other kind. One prerequisite for such an intuitive understanding of the soul is the desire to achieve it. If the desire is strong enough, then you will be automatically led to experiences that will result in vivid, unmistakable, subjective knowledge. There are methods that will enable you to do this, and I will give you some towards the end of this book, but for now, here is one quite effective but simple exercise. So I am now, this is Kate now reading, not Seth. I would like for each one of you that are on Facebook and that are on Zoom to just close your eyes and take a nice deep breath in through your nose and exhale through your mouth. And do that again. And center yourself and try to sense within yourself the source of power from which your own breathing and life force come. Feel this place. And sometimes it may help to just put your hand over your heart, the center of your chest. And when you feel within yourself this source, try to sense the power flow outward through your entire physical being, through the fingertips and toes, through the pores of your body in all directions, with yourself as the center. Imagine the rays undiminished, reaching then through the foliage and clouds above, and through the center of the earth below, extending even to the farthest reaches of the universe. And let's just sit with this feeling of expanding our energy in this way for just a minute. Now that we can feel this and know what it feels like, remember this feeling. This exercise can be done at any time. And I'd just like to ask everyone now to take a deep breath in and out. And you can open your eyes. And Seth now says, now I do not mean for this to be merely a symbolic exercise, for though it may begin with imagination, it is based upon fact and emanations from your consciousness, and the creativity of your soul do indeed reach outward in that manner. How does everybody feel? Very nice. This is a nice way to center the group. I love that. And I see Rick Boyd joined us while we were in meditation. Hi, Rick. I hope you got to see it. All right. Well, let's do a little bit of introductions. So Oshar and I are visiting our friends, Peggy and Don, and they're home. And so that's why the setup in the beginning was a little, crazy, trying to get everybody logged on. But everybody is on now. And oh, Miriam said good. She feels good. I love that. Thank you, Miriam. And I see Audrey on. Hi, Audrey. And Shawna. Hi, everybody. God, I feel so peaceful and calm right now. Hi, Oshara.
Hi, I see that Kate just unmuted Shawna. I think we can unmute Rick too. I think he'll behave himself.
Ask to unmute. There you go. So Rick, you can unmute yourself. Yeah.
Okay,
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we
Yeah.
can. Hi.
Great. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, so glad, I gotta say, so glad to see Rick Boyd here for the first time. And just to let you know about Rick, he's been kind of a Seth aficionado for decades. And I really look forward to finding out more about you, Rick, and you can tell people your stories a little later. We have a few things that we're gonna do today. Oh, and I wanna welcome Audrey too. We didn't say Audrey, but hi Audrey, welcome. There you are. So we also have someone watching in the next room, but we can't get her face on. But today's kind of a special day. We have, should I just launch into it, Kate? Or
Yes.
Just start?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead. I will watch Facebook.
Okay. And,
Yeah.
and do you have any questions coming through that we should say on Facebook or save those till later?
Gabriel said, happy birthday, Shawna, and sending a big hug.
Thank you. I need to go to Facebook. I'm not tech savvy like that.
Oh, okay. Well, so once this is all over, then pop yourself over there and then you'll see all the happy birthdays to you. Yeah. Did you see Mickey sang you happy birthday last week?
Yes, I did see that. I did.
That was great. This is the most beautiful Seth family ever.
Well, it's a pleasure to be part of it. Yeah. I was so excited and I couldn't wait to come today. Yay. I missed you guys last week.
Oh, we missed you too, but you were definitely with us in spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Oshara, would you like to introduce Don?
Yeah, well, over here we have something really exciting, and I'll just say the Seth House is so grateful for a gift we're receiving. And this is Don Northrop, and I'll just do a little overview here. Over many, many years, Don corresponded with Robert Butts, and maybe like about 30 letters he received from Robert Butts. Don is donating these original letters to the Seth House, and we're going to take very good care of them, and when people visit, they will be able to see these letters, and there's such variety here, so much that we're looking forward to chatting about. And here's Don over here, and here's one of his favorites. This is a photo of Don, Robert Butts in Elmira, New York. And that's the picture hanging on the wall, and that on the left is the picture hanging on the wall, and on the right is Don. What year was this?
About 93, I think.
1993. And he got to meet Rob and talk with him for a couple of hours. So I tell you what, Don, what would you like to say about your amazing adventure here with getting to know Rob?
In 1985, I wrote just a general letter to Rob and Jane Roberts, and he wrote me back with the announcement that Jane had passed away and a little bit of background on that. That's the first correspondence that I had. In 1989, I was involved in a New Age book review and discussion group, which I started in my hometown, and we were reading a lot of different stuff, and I've been drawn to the paranormal because I wanted to know if there was such a thing as precognition. How would the universe have to be set up to accommodate it? And I ran across some Jane Roberts books in the public library and got delving into them, and it sounded a lot like on this inquiry. And so I used to vacation in the summers. My hometown is Syracuse, New York, and we would go back there and rent a cottage just north of, about 40 minutes north of Elmira. So one day, after having gone to the tax office to see where the tax bills were sent for Robert Butts, and he was home, and he invited me in, and he started chatting, and that's my first contact with him. I was about 89, and then on and off for several years, when I was back at this cottage, I would hook up with him and we'd go to lunch, and it was a good friendship that was going on mostly from long distance because I wasn't back in Elmira's neck of the woods very often. And through the years, I was reading widely in the what New Age and the paranormal and the quantum physics stuff, and I would send, our relationship really got going because I would send him books that I thought he would be interested in, and occasionally I would find a reference to a Seth book or the Seth in a book, and I would send that along to him. And if you ever get a chance to read the letters, a lot of them are back and forth about books that I sent him and of his general interest in that. So he appreciated that I was coming at it from a different angle. I'm a sort of a left wing guy, so left brain guy. So mostly what I was looking for in the Seth material, I said, okay, what can I find in here that's verifiable? What you know, you get a lot of this New Age stuff, and it's all highfalutin and very fine sounding, but how do you know it's true? That's me. That's my left brain talking. So I would make reference to things like, one of the things that I remember Seth saying is that the Earth is really not round; it's more pear-shaped. And I thought, my God, I've never heard that before. And I went on the internet later and found out that that is actually somewhat true. That it actually is more pear-shaped than round. Although I could never figure out why, looking at the globes and the stuff we didn't see that, but there is reference to that. Let's see. My main connection was with quantum physics, and Seth says at one point that he was simultaneously working with a quantum physicist and helping the quantum physicist through trance.
And you said that was Seth said that he was working with a quantum physicist.
Seth tells Robert Butts in a dictation at some point that Seth is working with a quantum physicist, and that quantum physicist won't be well known during his lifetime, but he will later become known as the guy that first was getting it right. And I happen to know who that, I think I know who that quantum physicist is. It's a guy named Fred Allen Wolf. He wrote the introduction to Bridging Science and Spirit, which was a Friedman book. I have a friend that went to a lecture that he gave in Indianapolis, Indiana, in probably about '86. And I said, well, tell him that I think he's the one that Seth is talking to. And she went up to him during an intermission and said, well, this guy back home thinks you're the quantum physicist that Seth talks to. And he says, yes, I channel him. Robert Butts had never heard of him, and he had never talked to Robert Butts, but I sent him a lot of the books. And in one of the books that was written by Fred Allen Wolf, he gives credit to the discarnate Seth. And that was it. So I sent that book to Robert, and he's got it in the Yale Library where we got Wolf saying that. But I don't think Wolf will admit it much. He is, after all, an academician, and they don't like to go out on a limb too far. But that's the sort of thing I was able to send them. There was another thing that my checklist was that that Seth has said at some point that in the not too distant future, we're going to discover another planet. And that always amazed me. And now there is some discussion in the last couple of years about a planet X that is not that's way out in the atmosphere, or way out in the solar system, and doesn't come around very often, but it's at a different angle, which Seth said this other planet will be at a different angle. And then just recently they talked about Planet X, and it's going to be at a different angle, and they theorized where it is based on the motions of a couple of the outer planets are affected by its gravity. But anyway, that's a type of thing that I would share with Robert, and he'd write me back, and it was just a fun experience. Mostly I was pretty much an agnostic or an atheist when I started out. The best thing that came from these is I no longer fear dying. I believe what Seth says, that we live in a safe universe, and you get what you concentrate on. It's the main rule. So we concentrate on love and peace. Let's hope we have a long, healthy life, and And if it's cut short, don't worry about it, because you're an immortal soul, and I never would have believed that before.
That is just beautiful. That's Don Northrop, and we ought to put you behind a podium and take you to Seth conferences. That was just so beautifully expressed. Thank you. What does I want to get to pointing out and showing some of these remarkable things that he's received, and also know
There's some of the drawings.
Yeah.
Drawings that Robert Butts would often make drawings. I assume for me, they're line drawings that he colored, and then he would send them along at Christmas time.
There's incredible artwork on all of these. Real quick though, now that you've heard Ron's story, Don's story, I'm reading here. Don's story. Do any of you out there have any questions from what he was sharing, what he was expressing here? Any comments or questions about Don's story so far?
Went through 2006, and I think there's a letter or two that I don't have here, but I counted up 28 pieces of correspondence over those years. So that was a pretty long time, and if you ever get a chance to wade through them, you'll see how his life has been impacted as those decades unfold.
Yeah, you can see how the story of Rob's life is in these letters, and how much detail he put into putting drawings and special things on every letter. And I've heard this about when Robert Butts would write to people, he'd make and Jane as well, they would make every letter special. But when you really look at these, you just get the idea of how much care Jane and Rob put into contacting all of their Seth friends, all of their readers. And
that's amazing, beautiful. Will there be any attempt to digitize those letters perhaps and make them available?
Well,
or will we ever be able to see them?
I'm giving them as a gift to the Seth House. They can do with them what they will. I've made copies, just Xerox copies of the letters for my own files. And it's my hope that can sit down and go through these at a leisurely pace and just give a general outline of how these all came about, and as if I can recall what we were talking about as the various. To seek any kind of aggrandizement. If they want us to digitize them, that would be fine. I just hadn't given it a lot of consideration. I grew up in I graduated from high school in 1962, so the digitized age has sort of left me behind. But you 57-year-olds there that look like you're 30.
Well,
I thought I had a baby face, but my problem was when you were growing up in New York State, you had to be 18 to get a beer in a tavern, and now I look younger than my years, so I guess it paid me back.
Yeah.
So.
Now, I'm sure at some time we will digitize these and we will make them available. I am not sure when and how exactly that's going to happen, but we are starting to collect more and more. So we will definitely preserve these in notebooks that are with protected pages so that they are not touched, so that, you know, the finger oils don't get on them. So that they will last forever. But yes, digitizing them or having copies of these so that, you know, people could actually look through them.
Yeah.
And what you should know too is the Yale libraries. I'm over here. So you heard that every letter that was sent to Jane and Rob was taken to the Yale University Library Archives. So all of the letters you sent to Rob are there and protected for all of time. But everything that Rob sent to his fans and friends are in personal collections like this.
That's right. That's right. Far more rare. Right.
I may recall somewhere in one of his letters saying that he tries to make a copy of the letters that he sends out to include in, so that he knows what he said to somebody in response to their letter. So these letters may be already in copy form, not the originals, but in copy form at the Yale Library. I don't know enough about it really.
Yeah, well, I suppose now with your side of the correspondence versus Rob's side of the correspondence, that can kind of be put together to form a narrative almost, you know, of your experience with him.
And of Rob's life.
Mm-hmm. And Rob's life and artwork. Mm-hmm.
It turns out one of the motivating things to do this is that my parents are deceased, and they're buried in a cemetery in rural upstate New York. That's just 40 miles from the cemetery that Rob and Jane are buried in, because Rob's brother grew up just 40 miles from my mom's hometown. And I'm going to be there this summer in 2 or 3 weeks, and be thrilled to visit the grave sites of both my spiritual and biological parents.
Yeah.
Right.
And Rob sent all kinds of things to Donald. Like he sent copies of Rick Stack's New Awareness Network catalog, and Black Sheep, which was a beautiful little fanzine that came out of California. Really sweet. And just, yeah, Madeline was the name of the woman. And so he would, it's just a beautiful correspondence you shared with him. And it shows in every one of these, if we can get it again a little back so you can see how many they are and just kind of how precious it is. This just this feeling of.
I was just led to save these over the years, and most people, I'm sure there may be 1 or 2 that I didn't preserve, but I was amazed when I started to put them together to give to the Seth house, how many I did actually have.
And some of the things, like here's just a letter grabbing at random, you know, how he made his name cute, you know, Don with a smiling D. A letter from Rob. Don, this is to both thank you for your communication and to apologize for my late reply. I hear from you with the greatest appreciation. For in Jane Roberts' name and my own, I greatly value each response my wife's work has generated over the years. By writing or sending a tape or an article or a book, you tell me that her work still lives.
That may be a form letter.
Yeah.
The personal part is
But that's a beautiful thing. There was a form letter too. Just as I feel that it does. This is not only valuable to me, but to Jane, where she is now. And then here comes, behind the form letter, the totally lavish handwritten part. Hi, Don, many thanks for yours of 10/10, October 10th, I guess, as well as 2 previous letters. I'm sorry to have to reply like this, but I'm over 100 letters behind, all piled up, while I've spent many weeks proofreading volumes 1 and 2 of the early sessions, due out this fall. And then just going on with more, and he's responding to the books that Don sent him. He sent him a Deepak Chopra book. I received the 2 books you sent last month. And just really corresponding, really having a relationship.
That's beautiful.
And then Rob. So it really just touches the heart to see just to touch these and just to read them and just to talk with Don here about his beautiful experiences.
My metaphysical inquiry wasn't entirely centered with Seth. I also am a big fan of Native American spirituality, and I've been on some vision quests that were productive to prove that there are other dimensions. To me, things happened on my vision quest. And so that's why I'm so comfortable sitting here without my mask on, 3 feet away from these invaders from across the country. Anyway, it's all tied. It ties together to me, and I think that the Friedman book, Bridging Science and Spirit, is a remarkable synthesis of the age-old wisdoms and the Seth stuff.
Yeah.
Recommend the book.
And here again, we have this. What year was this? This is the first year you met him.
No, it's not the first. It was on one of my other visits, but I went down there 3 or 4 times to the Hill House. During one of them, he took that picture, and there are a couple others. The other pictures that were on that wall in their living room, and I just that's the one I framed and have on my dresser all the time. But where the other pictures are, I'll dig them out and see about. But one thing that Seth said is to have your bed facing north, and you'll know that in the Northrop household, the bed faces north.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be direction for good vibes while you sleep.
Yeah.
It's true. I feel more comfortable that way as well.
I agree.
Anybody else have any questions or comments about this amazing, beautiful, heartful collection of stuff we're looking at laid out?
I'm just so grateful that you brought that forward and have donated it. I personally think it's absolutely wonderful. Really, thank you.
I do too. I have a question though. You mentioned that when you had some questions regarding precognition and how that fits in with modern physics, and that's what kind of spurred your interest and led you to the Seth material. What kind of experiences did you have with precognition that kind of started that ball to rolling?
I read about psychics when I was in high school, early college. How to Make ESP Work for You was a book I read in the early 70s, I guess. I was intrigued by that. I didn't really have a lot of, I promised the ladies that maybe I would tell a story. They've been talking with my wife on the phone and saying what a wonderful person she is, and I have a story about that. When I was in college, I guess I lived at home in Syracuse, and I would go to bed at picture came through, vision came through just in a fleet of a brunette. And I went to a party years later that was when I was in Chicago, where I met my wife. She came into the party, and 5 minutes after starting to talk to her, I said, you're the lady that I had a vision of, and it was love at first sight from then on out. She never heard that kind of line before, but
he's laughing in the next room.
But it's true. I maintain it's true. I didn't make it up. So maybe that's precognition there, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd say so. Mm-hmm.
That's
in a big
fantastic.
way too. It was a precognition of a very vital part of your life. It wasn't a small small vision,
I actually did go to it before I met her. I did go. I had some friends in Chicago that were into paranormal, and they were seeing a psychic privately in her basement, and I asked to go along one time when a couple of them were going there, and that I had. So that's, I had enough interest to pay somebody some money to hear what they had to say, but again, it has to be verifiable. There's got to be something in there that's just not the horoscope of the week,
I really love the way your wife laughed in the background. How long have you two been together now?
We got married in 1973.
Okay, math in my head. 47 says the wife.
Wow. Yeah. That's longer than me.
Yeah, you've been married 30 years or something?
Yep, 30 years.
Now,
although Seth does say this is in his books that this monogamous thing may not be the thing of the future, that people will have a relationship and outgrow it and go in different directions, and that they'll go and get a different mate, and it will be more common than it is now, and probably not as much as looked at with as much askance as many people would look at it today.
well, actually, along those lines, when did he write this? The late 60s, early 70s? Yes, times have changed quite a bit along those lines in 50.
There's going to be a consciousness revolution, according to Seth, and the kids are going to remember their past lives, and that all the prejudice and stuff will melt away. Can you remember that you were once a member of another race or religion or sex, and things will be a lot better. I don't see much signs of that, although I do see in my daughter a willingness. She not acquired the prejudices that were baked in my upbringing when I was a kid, and which I fight against. But so I don't know if any of you know your grandchildren are starting to tell you about past lives. That's a good sign.
And I'm really excited that you brought that up, Don, because that's something Kate and I talk a lot about. Seth didn't make too many predictions, but what you mentioned, 2075, he brought up a couple of times, like in Seth Speaks, and just saying that that's the future we have to look forward to, like how much humanity is going to change by then. Now, and when Seth said this, it was about 50 years ago, and he was talking about a time about 50 years into the future. So we're like right in the middle of the time trajectory he was talking about. So we have seen so much change since Seth started saying things like that. And how much more are we going to see as far as humanity's consciousness flowering, opening, and knowing the things like what you were saying there, Don.
So I'm not much of a meditator. I don't I can't separate out my subconscious talking to me versus something else. So I'm content to let the time unfold, and I live in a safe universe, and that's good enough for me.
I hear you. I hear you. I agree too. I agree.
Hey, Kate, are you there? Go ahead, Shawna, sorry.
I'm here. So our connection is very unstable. So I turned my video off, so I'm not using any extra bandwidth. But I'm here and I'm listening to everything. And I just wanted to say thank you so much to Don, because it's people like you that knew Rob and or Jane, and can make them a living personal person, not just someone in a book, but they were real people that really cared about the people that read their books and, their neighbors, and they called people from all over the world their friends. So, I mean, it's just a beautiful legacy. Thank you so much for giving this to us.
Well, they deserved a nice home, and they found one.
Oh,
now let's get it rehabbed, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Joe online said, thank you so much. She says, thank you, Don. Love to see Rob's letters. As an artist, love to see more of his drawings. And Gabriel is on, and he said, excellent, Don. I love those letters with so much originality and detail. Thank you. So, yeah. Oh, and Judy Snyder is on. She said, yes, enjoying this format. So, wow, we're getting a thumbs up. Oh, you can't see me. You're getting a thumbs up from the Facebook peeps.
Okay. You all get a thumbs up for me too.
Now, Shawna, were you going to say something a second ago?
I was just thinking that it's amazing that Rob didn't just see you as being just a fan It's like he actually developed a relationship with you. And I think that's a testament to his character.
Well,
he seemed like the kind of guy who would do that.
yeah, and plus he was so busy with that he didn't have the time to follow what was going on tangentially with New Age books and the quantum physics stuff. And I must have sent him 25, 30 books through the years, some of which were more interesting to him than others. But I think that part of our friendship is what he really cherished. That's what got me to be appreciated, I think. And it was fun to do it. I felt like I was his right-hand man for literature.
New Age spy, yeah.
And he talked about Robert Monroe.
The out-of-body, out-of-body author.
He visited them. But he wrote about that, I guess, but he would tell me about that also. And some other famous, some other psychologists and people that would say that they have read the stuff and integrated into their thinking, but they can't give him credit because they would be, laughed out of their academic community.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think so many of the breakthroughs in science have come directly out of the Seth books, but some of these scientists, of course, aren't going to say, well, I'm kind of plagiarizing from a dead, well, he's not dead. This oversoul, this essence personality. No, I want to keep my tenure. I'm not going to say where I got these ideas. So, yeah, I think Seth's ideas have definitely, you can see his ideas in science and in so many other places in our society. His thoughts, the seeds of Seth are sprinkled everywhere. But some of these scientific breakthroughs are straight out of the Seth book pages.
Well, Marilyn Ferguson wrote a book in the mid to late 90s, and she makes a quotation that you create your own reality. And I happened to hear her talk, and she came to give a lecture, and she was a closet Sethian too.
Oh, she came out then.
I forgot the name of the book, Marilyn Ferguson.
Oh, the Aquarian Conspiracy.
Yes, that was it.
Yeah, that was a huge, 70s, was that? 80s?
Early 80s.
Yeah. So that was a big bestseller. And yet, so Seth influenced all the major writers in this field, in so many fields.
It was the beginning of an age.
I think so, yes, I do believe that.
It had literally started.
But being a skeptic, I don't know whether it'll all get done by 2075. I don't know.
Oh, I'm going to be there for it. I'm telling you.
It will just be really legitimately getting going. It'll be just getting going then, because it runs, an age.
All accomplished. So my recollection is I'm at the age where right now I'm starting to go back and reread the Seth stuff that I've just sort of set aside for the better part.
I am too. I just started back into it.
Yeah. I think it will be more meaningful to me now to do that.
I agree. I feel the same way when I'm reading it. And it seems like there's so much I've forgotten.
So much you didn't pick up on when you went through it.
Exactly. I was too young. I was too young.
I would tell Robert Butch some things that I recalled, and he, he's so busy writing his notebooks and publishing stuff that he didn't. A couple of times he had no memory of that. One of the things that I noticed that Seth said that some people are able to see color and hear
sound.
No, hear color and
see sound.
Yeah, and I never took up on that, and then I ran across an article where they just coming out of a laboratory and saying that they found some people that can do that. So I said,
"Oh yes,
Robert."
I think it's called synesthesia.
Yes.
Synesthesia.
think that's
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
Right.
But he didn't remember Seth ever saying that, but you know, sometimes I could find the session quote at the time of, what session it was and what time of after the break or whatever, but a lot of times I just laid it on him and let him chew on it for a while.
Well, I'm running into all kinds of things I didn't even realize that I would remember. You don't know how much is slipping away until you.
Read the opening from Seth Speaks about the nature of the soul. That really, I've forgotten all that. I mean, it was beautifully put, and I ingested it in the very beginning, and it's part of my belief that we are immortal and there's nothing to fear. But I hadn't had that reinforced for a while, so I thank Kate for doing that.
It almost has the feel. It is. It's very beautiful. It's like a prayer almost. It's almost like a prayer. It's like an affirmation. Probably a better word, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
worth reading every day. That one chapter is worth reading every day.
Yeah. That felt very nice to do that meditation.
Yeah, I think we should start that way every time just to get us on track. And where did that come from, Kate? What was that drawn from? Was that Seth Speaks or?
That was, yes, it was Seth Speaks. Oh, I don't have it open. I closed it. I tried to close everything. So yes, it was from Seth Speaks. It was in the beginning of the book.
527. I think he said 527.
And but I pulled it from the Seth exercises. And yeah, so I have this PDF of all the exercises that Seth had throughout all his books, and someone compiled them all, and you can look that up on the internet and find the PDF really quickly. So I just go through that, and I just looked for one that I thought would be an easy one to start with. And I do love starting with a centering, nice meditation that people could take with them and use that as a practice.
It was nice. It was hard to want to talk afterwards, though. It was so funny. You said, well, you were asking us to tell you something. And I sat here, I was just mute.
Like I'm too expanded. My sense of myself is so far out, I can't get back yet.
I love that.
That's to reel it all in.
Yay.
Paralyzed with bliss.
Well, I love that. And I think,
to be paralyzed.
I think the Facebook people liked it too, and know that, you can go back and listen to that. It's right in the beginning anytime you want.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Yeah, to be able to replay it.
Miriam said, yes, I like the meditation. I think it would be good to continue using that. So yes, we will come up with something different every week. I'll try anyway.
We'll never run out of Seth quotes and Seth pages to read.
Right. Now, I will say that Rick Boyd got called away, and he said he will be back on next week. So we will plan on interviewing Rick next week.
Oh, Kate, I lost some of the sound when you were talking. Can you say that again? That was about Rick Boyd?
Yes.
What did he say?
He got called away, and he said, so I'm like, oh my God, can you come back later? And he goes, probably not. And so he did agree. He will be with us next week, so we can interview Rick next week.
That's wonderful. I'm glad to hear back from him, because Rick Boyd, a lot of you probably know, you've seen him. His quotes on Facebook and what he says, he's just a Seth genius. And he created like a Yahoo page that went on for years and years that so many people were part of. I think, what was it? Oh gosh, he needs to be here so he can answer what I just had a brain blip on.
Next week he'll answer.
He'll answer. Yeah. The name of his Yahoo site was a Seth. It'll come back to me. But it was a wonderful Seth reference.
Yeah, you'll remember in a few minutes.
Yeah, I will. But so I'm so glad we'll have next week will be about us all interviewing Rick Boyd and other things that might come up. And I think before I forget, Audrey, we have some good news for you. Do you have anything to report from your sleuthing? Because we have a have a lead on something else. Shawna, you were, anyway, Audrey, Shawna, do you have any more on that hunting you were doing?
Waiting for BU to open. As soon as they open, they'll verify the permission and we'll get it.
Okay, and so what they were talking about, Shawna and Audrey caught wind of a video of Jane Roberts being interviewed back in the 60s, was that it?
1970s.
70s, yeah.
And it's in some college vault somewhere, and they're sleuthing and snooping and spying to get a copy of it or get the original, and this is so exciting. Do you guys want to say a little bit more about that?
Just waiting.
Yeah, so I think it was the last interview that Jane Roberts did for on the book tour. She was promoting the book. I think it was Seth Speaks, and she did an interview with Sonia Hamlin for station WBZ in Boston, and the tape is believed to be held in the archive. Boston University archive. There's an archive for Sonia Hamlin, the Boston University archive. And we visited there.
Luckily she's still alive, and we got the permission, and just gotta wait.
Why we can confirm that is indeed, the Jane's interview. How do we get it? Like,
well, I'm gonna drive there. It's not on video or whatever tape. I don't remember what kind of tape it's on, and I'll try to transfer it to, something we can all video.
Okay. Yeah, so I'd love to see it. I can't wait. And did you see on Facebook that there's another person that found another tape?
Yeah.
I wonder if that's the show I saw, because I don't think I saw the Boston show. But I know I saw her on somewhere in the 70s.
Okay, that's another tape. I think the person who found it says that the video quality is degraded because of time and format.
The sound is great.
But the sound is great.
Yeah.
So Kate got an email from the person. Kate, are you there? Are you able to say? Because
I'm here. So I sent him a note because I just have unstable connection right now, so I can't do a whole lot. But I sent him a note and I said, if you could get a copy of even just the audio so that we could have that. He heard part of it, but not the whole thing. The video is totally unusable though. So I am still waiting to hear back from him. I will keep you all posted.
That's exciting, and I just caught wind of it. Was it this morning that he sent an email to you? So this is a separate interview. Yeah. What year was this separate interview?
I'm not.
Now all of a sudden, Jane's coming out of the woodwork. We're finding those interviews.
Right. I'm not sure of the year, but it was a more local one. It was the Ithaca local internet, which I have to assume was Time Warner at the time. And this woman still had a copy of it. She had done the interview herself. And, she met up with this fella, and they were 1,200 miles apart from Elmira, and yet they connected, and he's a great Sethi, and he's going to try to get this. So I think that's amazing. New footage that nobody has seen.
I think she randomly brought Seth up. Like, she didn't know he was a Sethi, and it was just random.
Right.
So,
he mentioned he's from Elmira, and she's like, oh, I did this in Ithaca. So yeah, it was very random. Everything is meant to be.
Yes.
I think I remember seeing her interview recorded somewhere. It may have been on VHS tape somewhere. I remember watching it, and I don't know. It prompts me. I've given away all my VHS tapes, but I may have owned a copy of some kind of interview. I'm prompted to go back and see if there's some hidden corner of my house that has it, because I know I watched her being interviewed on a VHS tape.
Call us first. We will be here.
If I find it, you're welcome to it.
Oh my God, we'll make copies in the world.
I think it's so interesting that these things are coming to light right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, why are we getting these new things from Jane and Seth now?
We need to.
Because now is the most important time, always.
Right.
I was really
Yeah.
impressed when I heard about the Seth House project on Water Street. But when I was down trying to locate Seth by going to the tax office, I had the address of the Water Street apartment, so I actually drove by it back in '85 or '89, I guess. But that wasn't the Hill House, and when I knocked on the door, he said he wasn't trying to hide his Hill House address, but I just never had. I guess if I had written him something that was deserving of a reply, I would have had his address on the envelope. But I thought I'd be pretty slick by going to the tax assessor's office and find out who.
All these Seth sleuths here, tracking down the trail.
So the pictures that they show you of that Seth House are how I remember it in 1989 or so, the faded green apartment building.
Oh, it is so much worse today.
Oh.
It is.
Oh.
Well, when I first was looking into this, I actually asked Seth and Jane to open up the road to finding this tape.
Exactly.
The one in Boston, so they might have a hand in it.
Of course they do. Of course they do. They're leading the way.
Yeah.
Maybe more Seth and less Jane, because Jane was not a fan of public appearances, from what I understand.
Right.
She wasn't a fan of it. But I'm sure she understands the importance of her work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One thing that amazed me, as I recall, they objected to very much. Some people wanted to just take out go in and edit their early book and take out all the in trance and what they were doing during break and everything. Just put the meat and potatoes of what Seth was saying in, and they were resistant to that. And I was amazed to see that change later with there is one compilation of a lot of the books that they did allow to be published. So it's nice to have it consolidated and not have to hunt through the bathroom breaks to find it.
I want to comment on that too. That's something that's often talked about with Seth readers, is like Rob's notes. Sometimes it's Rob's darn notes, and sometimes it's, oh my God, I'm so glad he told me this.
Yeah.
And when I was first trying to read Seth, those notes kind of got in the way of the flow. But I got to tell you now, like some of the random notes that I was just like, why are you telling me this? This is so like, I don't care. Now that I've been in apartment 5 and the Seth house, Rob's notes that say, here in the living room, over by the bay windows, da 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 da. And I'm like, oh my God, this is why Rob did all these notes. So I could sit in the living room and cry, because now I have the whole picture of every little nuance he was describing that happened in the Seth house, that happened in their apartment 5. When Jane says she saw a window at the southwest corner of the living room, I'm like, there is where Jane saw. And when they're talking about the cat, or all these things that were like, Rob, stop writing these silly notes, making me insane. Now it's like, oh my God, now I've stepped into Rob's notes and they're all around, and this is very significant now. Everything they'd say about the windows or the walls or the bathroom, the bedroom, his art studio, the 5 rooms, now it's like, it's all here, it's all here. I still hate some of Rob's notes, but now I really love some of Rob's notes. So that's my evolution with Rob's notes. But I would like, as you're saying though, what if we could have editions? My fantasy is an infinite volume set of everything Seth said from beginning to end. I don't know, 20, 30 volumes, keep talking, in order, uninterrupted.
Yeah.
Just like, each session 1, session 500, session 1000. And then you have that reference when you just want to read Seth. but that we also have the notes that have a value of themselves as well. Too.
They do. They do.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I think that the most, oh, go ahead.
I mentioned that I was skeptical of wanting to find validation, and one of the things that impressed me most when I knocked on the door down there at the house was that he took me into a room and showed me his notebooks. They were there lining the wall, notebook after notebook of his notes, you know, and he let me take them out and read them. So I could, you know, you could hear somebody that didn't go to the house because he's just making this bullshit up, you know, it's just fiction. But then why would he bother to have these books on the wall, you see?
Yeah,
so
it's just the notes themselves lend a certain validity to the material, you know, and sometimes you'll find yourself, you know, citing or understanding their position when they question certain things or they have certain experiences, you know. I think that the notes were perfect for context. Yeah. But I'm like Oshara, there's one book where the notes literally drive me nuts. And that's unfortunate, and I'm trying to get over that. But it's in, I think it's a Seth book, Seth, Dreams, and Projections of Consciousness.
Oh.
Element?
No, not that one. It's
okay.
Seth, Dreams, and Projections of Consciousness. And it's the same book that the preface has Jane talking about the interview that she did for Sonia Hamlin. But the book is replete with notes for the Dr. Instream experiments when they were sending envelopes back and forth. And the material itself was exquisitely dense. And you couple that with these notes, and I was really saying, I wish I could just kind of parse this part out.
And they're often our footnotes to the notes.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I literally did that. I people are going to think this is, I'll go to hell for what I'm going to confess, but I literally took Unknown Reality, the 2 volumes, and I just went through it with a pen, and I crossed out every single one of Rob's notes in all 2 volumes. And then I was able to read it all smoothly. And then I got crazy and I started actually tearing out full pages that were Rob's notes on both sides. And it really condensed. Unknown Reality could have been 1 volume.
1 volume.
Really easy. But it's one of the most fabulous books ever. But Rob, I don't need your opinion. Like Seth would say something about Darwinism, and then Rob would say just the opposite point of what Seth was trying to make, or you know what I mean. It was like, well, for you know, I'm like, wait,
right.
So we're kind of smiling to each other, going, yeah, we love you, Rob. We love you, Rob. Rob, we love you.
But it made it so humanized. You
Right.
know, the notes give you such a much more visual indication or an intellectual indication of who they were as people. They were not just swallowing it all whole cloth. They had their own ideas. They had their own questions about it. They had to resolve certain things about what to use and what to try out. You know, so I like that.
And something too, I kind of embrace is there's a certain historical quaintness about, you can see Seth's breadth, the depth and breadth of Seth laid right alongside how the human consciousness was in the 60s and 70s. You know, a brilliant mind, 60s and 70s. Rob was brilliant he knew all the big words. Yeah. And organizing this great mind. But to lay next to Seth what in a human consciousness was in the 60s and 70s, and some of the things they thought needed to be said as a footnote or as an aside, or the reader to know that. It does add more layers to the whole journey of what this
I love it. I love it.
Because they did ask questions that kind of led the discussion for Seth. You know, they would ask him, well, why is this like that? And then that would take him off into another direction. But go ahead, Mickey, what were you saying?
I don't know. It's not important. Go ahead.
It's always important. It's always important.
I don't remember.
It'll come back.
It'll come back. Yes, I don't remember. Someone has entered the room.
Oh,
Yeah, but it's a Chinese name.
oh. So
Kate, do you see it?
we have a new person.
I'm not sure who it is. It may be the doctor professor, or maybe
Dr. Sue. Ooh.
Yeah.
Or one of our Chinese or Taiwanese friends, or Canadian friends who are Chinese too as well. Are you there, friend? It's connecting. Ooh, we're gonna find out who it is. Maybe her name is Lily. I don't know.
That's a beautiful picture, isn't it?
Yeah. What if it really is a flower trying to join this gun?
and this is probably the only place in the world where, if that were true, I wouldn't be too shocked.
Yeah, and I would be like, tell us
communicating from another dimension.
This could be Seth's latest incarnation.
Hello.
And it's like, Seth, you're back.
Well, it's made it in and it's muted, whoever it is.
Kate, do you have anything to report of any backstory about our new friend here?
No, I asked them to start their video and they said maybe later. So I don't know who it is. It is a lovely picture. You're right.
Yes, it is.
Kate, do we have any other
would love to know who you are, as we don't read, I think, Chinese.
Well, we don't want to put too much pressure on them, but welcome. And when you feel like jumping in, you'll have a safe landing. Kate, are there any other Facebook questions or comments?
Oh, Charlie was on. He says he hates the notes and loves them too. So he's, and yeah. No, everybody is really, nobody's asking questions. I think they are extremely riveted to the conversation right now. Yeah.
One of our best.
Yeah, this is awesome. Totally. But we have 45 minutes left. Oh,
wow.
Are they on?
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, welcome our new
there
friend.
You go. Yeah, there you go.
Oh.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome. Do you speak English?
Yes, it's Mo.
Oh. Hi.
Mo, welcome. Thank you for jumping in. What would you like to say to us?
Oh, I just want to see what is the topic today. I'm not prepared to say anything special.
Well, glad you're here. Have you been watching any of what's been going on?
No, I just came back home, so yeah, you can just have the access to it.
Well, you'll have to go back and watch it. We had Don Northrop on, and he has a whole bunch of letters from Rob, the correspondence over the years, and pictures of him with the Seth painting behind him. Yep, Oshar is showing them right now. So it was a wonderful interview. He has donated these to the Seth House, so we will take care of them and love them and have them so people could view them when they're there, and we'll try to get them digitized. So they did go into great detail.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, nice to hear it.
And next week, we're going to have an interview with Rick Boyd, who has a long history of getting the Seth word out there in Yahoo, Facebook, and just wonderful Seth brain. And we're going to look forward to picking his brain. That sounds gross, but we'll do it.
Okay.
Passage, or lead us in prayer, or
like a hot dog on a rotisserie. Let us all bow our heads.
Hey Mo, Did you post a comment to our friend Marco Governelli, asking him if he thought that God was perfect? Was that your post?
Yeah. I think a few weeks ago, no?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
And what did he say? Did he respond?
Oh, no, I don't think so.
This made me think about we're talking about bowing our heads in prayer, and I think about the God concept. And I talked to my daughter, we were talking about the concept of perfection, and how we think that perfection is a static state from which no further development can come.
Yeah.
And my daughter says that there is a state of perfection. And I said, not in those terms. Perfection doesn't exist in those terms, because things are always changing.
I asked the question to Dr. Xu in Taiwan, and he answered me.
What did he say?
He said all that it is also not perfect. He said the perfection doesn't exist because we are all the, how to say it in English, we are all the imperfect from the perfect version. But all that it is also not perfect because we are part of it.
Well, I think there's the sense that because everything is always changing and nothing will be ever done, it's perfect, can't go forward. It's like always, there is a perfection to life. There is a perfection to, it's kind of like playing with that word. Like, you know, you can feel
always
perfection
developing.
When
it's always everything in a state of development, you know, and that's perfection. The movement through possibility, through probability, as it
but
moves.
never done.
It's on a journey. Of course not. It's constantly becoming everything that it's possible to be.
And I think Jane had a psychic experience when she was sitting in the car watching people go by, where she was seeing people as a perfection of themselves. Maybe I got the word wrong, that's a perfect somebody. Like each person, their manifestation was so classic and original.
Yeah.
Beautiful. It's like there was a perfection to each individual. Am I using the right words to describe this? Or?
Yeah, there's a perfection to every probability.
We think of something being perfect, then it can't change, it can't develop. It almost has to exist in this one state.
Static.
Definitely static, right? And that's how we think of perfection. That once I reach that state, you know, I'll be happy, it'll be perfect. Everything will be like Trump says, it'll be perfect. But perfection is actually something you've been led to believe in those terms. And it's like you were saying, Oshara, perfection exists in all forms.
Yeah.
And we are perfectly ourselves as we live our lives. Yeah. So.
Yes. And each one of them is one of the different ways that existence can manifest. Because if it's all that is, then it represents every possibility that there is.
Now, Miriam said, didn't Seth say something about perfection not being the goal of the soul? Though we strive for it, perfection would be an end, nothing more to strive from or for. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Thanks, Miriam.
You know, I got another one in the last couple of weeks I've been thinking about, wanted to ask you guys about, is what Seth said about God's plural. And he was bringing validity to some of the ancient gods. Oh, we're going to open a big door here. He was saying, you know, what we called mythology, but much attention and energy was given to some of these names, be it, you know, Zeus or Thor, Odin, or the Native American gods, or any culture. There was a plethora of gods all over the world in every culture. And he was saying that there's a lot more to that. You can't just brush that away and say that, ooh, mythology. We know so much more now. Yes, now we have a God that we crucified. But we're so much further along and more advanced. And the crazy thing about like the 10 Commandments too is the number one law, number one most important was, thou shalt not have any other gods before me. That saying, oh, by the way, there's a lot of other gods, but I throwing these sentences in about be careful the gods you worship and other things about gods, and saying, wait, these actually are real beings? Perhaps isn't something to poo-poo. And again, choose your gods wisely, of course. But anybody have any other, I want to hear from you, Seth, on gods and what that's all about. Can you teach me things? Come on, guys.
I don't know. I just think that it has to do with the probability that's playing out, whether you're involved in that particular probability or you're considering the one you're in, and whatever it is you believe, you're going to create your reality. It's part of whatever reality you're living out, so they would have validity to you.
Well, there's a validity to them as themselves as well. If
you've created them, then they exist somewhere.
But wait, if they are self-actualized and self-identified beings who identify themselves as gods, like if there are beings who say, I am Neptune, I am Neptune, or I am whatever. So there's a validity to all kinds of consciousness, including larger conglomerations of consciousness that we as individualized humans would look at them and say, oh, that's a God, and my culture says I should align with you for, I don't know, inspiration or insight.
If you're standing next to a 7-foot tall anthill somewhere in Africa, all of those hundreds of thousands of ants inside there would look out and see you standing there and say, oh my goodness, that must be a god. You'd be literally hundreds of thousands of times bigger than any one of them.
Size matters.
Size matters. Yeah.
Soul level.
It's about perception and what level you're on. I mean, your cells inside of your body are in systems that are called organs, and those organs form a system. It's either circulatory or skeletal or nervous system, etc. And then outside of that, you have all of those systems together inside one skin. So if you're talking on the atomic level to an atom, and it has its own consciousness, etc., what is God to a cell? I want to know. Who is your God? And I often heard my hippie friends saying back in the 60s, who is God's God? Who does God pray to?
Seth too, perhaps.
I can't envision. That was before I knew anything about the toroidal nature of the universe, as so many of the physics professors now tell us that there's a toroid. And so this thing it has nothing but inside space.
You mean toroid meaning like the torus?
Yes, the torus. Yeah.
Like the donut,
it's constantly spinning inside and out of itself.
If we could choose any pastry to be what the universe is based on, donut, glazed, sprinkled, God.
Yes, a donut.
All the way.
That's it. That's
my God, donut.
Cream filled. That's the clouds. Cream filled.
Miriam is over on Facebook, and what she said is, I've always wondered if the gods were merely the archetypes and higher beings of ourselves, And then she said, Jesus himself said, haven't you read in the scriptures, ye are gods?
Yes.
That's pretty
That's what Seth,
powerful.
yeah.
Yes. And at another point, he said, there is nothing I've done that you can't do.
Yes.
You know, people were freaking out over his miracles, quote unquote. And he said, well, there's nothing I've done that you can't do.
All you need is a Zoom account. Shawna, were you gonna, you had something about God?
Well, I was thinking that when you were saying, Oshara, when Seth referred to gods, I think that he's still maintaining that our gods are self-created, that we basically create our gods. They're externalizations of interior knowledge that we can't grapple with just yet. So we have to put that outside of ourselves and deal with it. So we create gods for that. And so whenever Seth talks about gods, I think that it's with the understanding that these are the gods of men.
We created these comic book heroes in a way.
Yeah.
Not to offend anybody, but what the heck, I don't care if I do offend anybody.
Well, they represent our higher selves. They represent all that we believe we can be.
Yeah.
And because we can't accept that in ourselves just yet, we have to externalize it.
The God within. You know, we're if we had to pick gods, and it's almost one of the best personality questionnaires is like, what God would you pick if you could pick anyone? And that would tell you a lot about who you are. You know, Easter Bunny, hands down, you know. But and how different, you know, the gods we choose reflect upon our culture, our era, our time. But then I was wanting to also kind of associate that with okay, God. You know, Jane did a book called The God of Jane. She took that title, and again, that's trying to be a mirror upon ourselves. Okay, here's your own name and the God of me, the God of me, my God stuff. So identifying God starting with yourself sounds like a good, healthier self-esteem. But also I wanted to jump into, you know, would we considered, okay, Seth says we're all part of an entity, which, or an oversoul or a collective soul thing. Would that be considered a God? I guess so. Like there's the Seth entity. There's all kinds of entities floating around that may have chosen a name, and would we identify them as that's a God? And maybe
they all have levels. They all have levels. There are levels of Seth 2 and above Seth 2 and above that even. You know, so there's a hierarchical structure to how we perceive reality as well.
And hierarchies are natural. They're not artificially imposed. There's like levels of frequency or knowledge, awareness, growth.
Exactly. You hit it. Frequency, the resonance. That is the whole name of the game, isn't it?
I think of everything as a subset within a subset within a subset. That all there is, and then there's these really great entities that create stars and do everything that they'd be too bored to do around here. And then they have a subset of a subset. That's the way I handle it. But I don't come, when I talk to God, I just I call him by is. I say, okay, is, let's go get going here, you know, or whatever.
Yeah, tap into the higher energy, no matter what we want to call it. We all like finding a way for us all to tap into that higher essence, giving it a name, giving it a source. The word God works. Another term Seth used was pyramid gestalts. Again, gestalt being a collection of lots of goodies. But pyramid, he threw in pyramid gestalt. So that's like an interesting thing that came up in Seth quite a number of times, is the pyramid shape. But pyramid gestalts, and saying that the power of these is unimaginable. And it's a collection of many consciousness, of which we are part of this. So, more of his words to kind of open our mind about what is God, what is you, what is pyramid gestalt, energy, entities, gods.
I think that it takes a good bit of courage to be about Seth, okay? Because we are so used to generally, say, average Joe, etc., um, being quite negative in some of the things we think all the time and some of the ways that we express ourselves. We are not inherently negative, but it has become popular to speak and express in a certain means, and that means encompasses a lot of negative imagery. And so, as you address yourself to a whole body of knowledge that is totally positive and totally telling you, hey, not even death is a problem. Okay, that's most people's big boogaboo. But not even that is a problem. And so you need to be positive and mainly Seth is saying, well, just think up something you want and you are going to create your reality. There are ways to envision creating whatever image pops into your head. Um, but you can't do that if you are constantly saying, well, now, as I start out to do this, I am, but somebody told me I should try this, so I'm going to try it. Well, you started the whole thing out wrong by first giving validity to all the negative who have come to the body of the mountain of the Seth information. We have this personage who has come into our dimension and our reality to try and help us all that he can. He's elicited the help of two of us, you know, Jane and Rob, and said, can you help me help them? I want to tell them something. Can you help me do that? And so as the information comes out, hey, guess what? You're creating your life. You're creating your reality. Well, I know I didn't create this. I didn't ask to have a husband that beats me and a child that won't listen and blah, blah, blah. But there were things about how you saw your reality that allowed you to set that up.
You know, you brought something up very interesting, Mickey. You said there was this being who elicited the assistance of two humans. In classic literature, this would be God. A God speaks to a couple humans and wants these rights to spread the word of his wisdom. So Seth could be called a God, but of course, if I said that, I would be torn to pieces in the Seth community.
No,
but
people do tend to you know, to make things religious that may not be actually, quote, religious. They're simply spiritual.
I have to constantly remind my family that Seth is not a religion. It is not a religion. We don't worship Seth. It is not a religion.
No.
Worship
Seth. It is not we don't worship anything. You know, it's a body of philosophy.
An awareness. Yeah, an awareness.
That stretch your consciousness and your awareness. Right.
Yeah. Well, you know, I have that same problem with Buddhism because people think Buddhism is a religion and it's not, you know.
But then if you take a college class in religion, they say Buddhism is a religion.
I know, and that's when you get up and walk out and you leave you walk away from your deposit because you leave.
But, God, you know, the Buddha gets worshipped. Everybody, you know. And the thing about worship sets it away and above. Seth is really trying to say, no, it's this. He didn't say oneness, but he said all that is that we're part of.
You can revere. You can revere.
The answers are within us. We don't have to look.
That's right, Audrey. That's right. That's what Seth always said.
That's constant.
He said, look within.
And that was the main thing about Seth, Audrey, just what you said is like the great equalizer was some of the things Seth said. It's like, we all have the information within us that we can access. We're all part of a greater energy field.
Yeah, there's some things that are not going to come to you unless you drop all that BS where you think you're not worthy. You know, when people make fun of the fact that we play the lottery every week, I have it set to just automatically play. And they say, well, why would you just keep playing? When have you won? Well, no, we haven't won yet, but when we do, I will let you know because I already know I'm going to win, you know. but it's worth it. I can't win if I haven't bought the ticket. So if you're sitting there saying, well, now I know I'm not going to win, but I will buy this stupid ticket, blah, blah, blah. You've already coded it in negative garbage. So.
But yeah.
I've been told I'm just lucky because I have been lucky with the
I have too.
lottery.
I have too. And because of how I feel about it, yes, I do win constantly.
Yeah.
But it has not been the main size that I wanted, but I do constantly win.
But as you use these analogies kind of to bring back the thing about your own personal power to create your reality, the more, what I want to say is the more godlike we become. And let's stretch this a little bit. When we start to re-empower ourselves or return to a self-awareness of the power we truly
reclaim our power,
then it's like we become, I think there were a lot of spiritual advice from many sources that said, become more godlike, become more
demigods,
become
we're
more
demigods.
like these higher beings, you know, to select consciously higher beings of wisdom and goodness and try to be more like that. So in that effect, it's an educational tool to have gods or holy beings or people you assign respect to study, to follow, to appreciate. And no less would Seth be that too, in studying his information.
I agree.
And his love of humanity. Clearly, Seth loved humanity enough to put up with some of our crazy questions.
Here. So well put. Yeah.
And so, but the journey of godliness, I remember that was something Osho is an India guru who I looked into for a long time. But he said, you know, don't try. He said the word godliness. He did some speaking about that. He says, don't try to become a god. Try to find within you your own godliness.
Yes.
It's like, oh, feel that energy of your own godliness, and just wearing different energies.
Just accept the fact that you are awesome. Start there, and then this awesome person truly can influence their reality. If you start to understand that you can influence your reality. I decided what to have for breakfast. No one came to the door with a form for me to sign that I would absolutely have what they wanted me to eat, or else I could be carried to jail.
You know, and to go the distance and say, okay, we are all reality creators.
Yes.
We are all also, as Seth said, gods in the making, so to speak. But we're reality creators. And the more we take responsibility for what we are creating in our little bubble world, I created a sandwich this morning that tasted yummy. I'm a creative spirit, great. But we're reality creators. We create our day, we create our choices, and to get better and better and better at it. But that we are reality creators, becoming bigger reality creators, taking on more responsibilities as we are physically in this compartment, focusing on our exams in our dorm on Earth.
Exactly.
Studying. But we are growing beyond that to become greater reality creators. And he
I
said,
think we're pretty cool, actually.
And he
I
said,
think we are awesome. When you look at how we're made and all that we're about, we are blank and awesome.
Yeah, and
yes, there's a lot more power we haven't even checked out yet.
And he said, Seth's saying also, we are becoming co-creators with God.
Yes.
Okay, so we're rising up in the ranks of the pyramid gestalt or the corporation or whatever legal entity you want to think of. We are rising up the corporation to become co-creators. Co-creators with God. So everything we're doing, creating our reality here, is training us for greater creativity and co-creators with God. Isn't that nice?
That is my belief.
We are in the process of accepting full responsibility for our creative potential.
Thank you. Oh, yes. Ooh,
you're the girl, Sean.
What she said. What she said.
Wherever.
I love it. I just love it.
Yeah. It's a tremendous responsibility, too. And I find myself shirking it often. You know, there are plenty of times when I don't want to have to deal with the track.
Yeah, to get back on track. Yeah.
I caught myself the other day thinking about something, and as soon as my mind touched the thought, I had a real strong negative impulse behind it. And I was just thinking of all this bad stuff. And I said to myself, I'm making a really poor construction right now. And I know why I'm doing it. It's not that I'm having the thought. It's the belief that's going behind it that's fueling it and making it so ugly and making me so angry, you know. So I actually stopped myself from making what I call a poor construction. And I had to just turn away from it. And just
so you created a different reality.
Yeah, I had the awareness that you know, for all of the vigor that I had behind the thought, I was actually putting that vigor there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And once I realized that I was doing that, I'm like, you know, I don't have to do that. I don't have to do that to my body. I don't have to do it to my mind. I can just, you know, because I realized at that point, whatever was fueling my anger was a belief that I had. And sometimes it's hard to do that. You know, it's so much easier
to do it in the moment, you know, while it's being angry. Yeah.
Yeah. But there was a part of me that didn't want to feel that way. So
but you worked it.
That's the road to mastery you're talking about, Shawna, or road to mastery, whatever you want to call it. Just self-examination, catching yourself in the moment of being alive and making the changes you want to make yourself being who you want to be. And
not that it won't happen.
Or not at the mercy of your own emotional storms. Just with that, how can I be in control of my life, my emotions, my creations?
Yes. I think that's wonderful. And that's what we're all trying to work on. It's not that it won't ever happen that we're negative or we mess up and create the wrong thing. It's just simply a lesson in, oh, that's what it looks like when you create the one you don't want. Now I know how to go and do the other one.
And also what Shawna's describing, the very moment of choice. And how you said that. You came to that moment where it's like, how did you say it again? I love it. It was like, you came to that moment of self-examination in the moment of the experience and went.
Like a voice came to me saying, almost like I take it to be my inner self. My inner voice was coming to my aid in a way and saying, you have a choice here. You don't have to be as livid as you always are when you think these thoughts. You know, you don't have to do that. And when I heard that voice, a part of me stepped aside from my anger. And I was able to say, yeah, you know what? I'm really kind of doing a mind F to myself, you know, and there is a way to break that. And the more often I do that, the better I feel, and the more in control I feel, and the more I'm inclined to look at the rest of my experience as being self-created. But it's tricky.
Lovely. That's so lovely.
Shawna, I worship you as God.
Here we go again with that God word.
I have to get out there. I got to break that.
I got emotional. It just ran away with me.
It makes you wonder if there's some part of us, some like hardwired part of us that tends to want to worship. There seems to be, because all cultures do it. All cultures do it on the face of the earth. So there must be something in us that recognizes a higher self, I guess.
There's a reverence gene.
Sincere reverence, adoration, admiration.
The reverence gene, I like that. The reverence gene.
Yes.
to the X chromosome. It's in the mitochondrial DNA, right?
Well, to me, that's part of one of the big tools you use in order to meditate. You're putting your mind in a state of reverence. Now, you can argue all you want to about what it is you revere and whether it's a God or whether it's a teacher with a certain program or whatever it is. But you put yourself in a state of regard on a high level. You know, you reach for that higher level of being and regard, and you bathe in it. And then it does good things for you. You come out of it feeling wonderful.
I think, like you said, it changes your vibration, and then you attract similarly.
Exactly. The resonance kicks in. So if you're holding this vibration, the other stuff that vibrates on that will be attracted.
Seth says that too. He says that's what happens. That's the dynamic that takes place with beliefs as well.
Yes.
You know, that negative beliefs will attract similar beliefs. Same thing with positive beliefs.
Yeah.
So that's a valid theory.
That's why it's important to only use certain vibrations if you can possibly control it. Like you were saying, you know, you want to create, you know, that this vibration is one that's good. You know, it creates certain things that are pleasant and positive. So then you want to more often hold that vibration instead of holding the one that creates selfishness and greed and nastiness and so forth. And we know when we're holding a certain vibe what the deal is. You know?
Yeah, yeah. If you don't
You
know
know
it
the
and
deal.
others don't acknowledge it, others around you will let you know.
We'll remind you. Hello. I love it. But that's why this is so good, you know, to us. When we're sitting here on Sunday, we're all emitting a certain regard for a particular vibration of thought, you know, and that is resonating with between all of us that are on here. And it sweetens something about this transmission becomes on a certain vibration, and we can all feel it.
That's why I keep coming back.
Hey, I'm so glad you do.
I'm drawn to you all.
It's wonderful. Oh, there she is.
We have a new guest.
Hello.
I left my room.
They let you out, did they?
I love what you guys are saying. That was almost like we began with the meditation, but what you guys were talking about just then is like a meditation too. It's more meditation instruction to resonate with the reverence and awe and those words and just vibration and frequency becoming that. So I was listening to that going like, oh, we're going to make a sound bite out of this. Just that feeling that was happening. It was like you guys were casting another meditation with perfect timing because it is now 4:53. We have about 7 minutes left of the show.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Spiritual resonance.
Yeah, spiritual resonance.
We're palpating it, we're feeling it, and getting used to the touch of spiritual resonance.
And then to share that with others. I mean, to practice it in your own world, in your own spirit and soul.
Yeah.
That energy.
And that gets you ready for creating your own reality. You clean up your mind. You toss out the debris in all the corners and the crap, you know, and get rid of the negative awareness. And once you realize you deserve the reality you're trying to create, then you can go about creating it. But you first got to understand that you deserve it. So and you have the power.
To feel your reconnection with source or whatever you want to call it, your entity, your higher, greater identity. But to live in that energy, to practice living in that energy. And I love, again, I want to go back to Shawna, when you said that you were having a human life in an emotional moment and you heard a voice that said, you have a choice here, or whatever it was. And it's like, it's wonderful when we're open to receive. Yeah.
Right. Go ahead.
No, that's it. I was just, Well,
I was just going to follow up with that and say that, I don't know if it had been a place of negativity that I've gone to for years. So I'm pretty sure that it was a belief, it was a belief couched as fact. And I was just drumming it up and rubbing on it and getting fired up. And it all felt so normal. And I said, there's got to be something to this. I have to be able to, this can't be true, because of the way it makes me feel. And so I can't just look at it as a fact anymore and just say, well, it's a belief. It's got to be a belief, and then I was able to kind of divorce myself from the thought, from the belief that it was real, that it was fact instead of just belief.
You go, girl.
That's something that says, paraphrasing, you are not your beliefs. You make thoughts, you have thoughts, you play with thoughts. You are not your thoughts. So somehow to not identify with your thoughts anymore and to get back to, again, the soul frequency, resonance, vibration, Like that's really the home base, is the soul energy, who you are.
Yeah.
And then you can play with thoughts and choose thoughts and toss them away. But I really love it when whatever it is that is the wiser aspect of herself jumps in and says, you could do that differently, just saying. And we hear it.
Try it like this.
Revelatory and life-changing.
And you move to a different probability in that moment.
A probable self. You become another
emergent. You take a side step on the path, and you have just elected a new path that doesn't involve the negative thing you previously believed.
The new you.
Yeah.
You make the new you every moment.
Yeah. So you have created your reality.
Lord, that was a great show, gang.
This was a great show.
Every moment.
And I can't see the Facebook people anymore. I left them in the other room playing.
Oh.
But they're behaving over there. And I mean, and the reviews are great. They're like, we love this format. This is great. We love hearing this. They were so happy with seeing Don's artifacts. You know, and they're looking forward to Rick next week. So we have to keep coming up with these new people and new things to do.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you for keeping it interesting and entertaining. You know, I can't
Thank you. Thank you for being here, Shawna. Thank you, Audrey.
We do. All of you.
It's the frequency we're building consciously, co-creating. You guys coming back every week is so like
very strong.
Yeah, it's like
right. You three are our core.
Yeah, it's like, oh, good, they're here. It's like, yeah, we the energy's here. It's like plugging in the.
It feels wonderful.
And it's nice to have our Oshara back.
It feels wonderful.
Yeah.
It's good to see the two of you. two for one.
All right, I'm going to go back to that computer, and we are going to, be signing off in about 2 minutes. So.
Okay. So if there's anything else,
I will.
Facebook
if I
friends.
see anything over there, I'll read it.
And we really thank Don and his wife Peggy, who was in the background, support. And we want Don to come back again. Everything he was sharing was like, wow. I mean, Seth.
That's a wonderful perspective he's got.
I like his Seth brain. I like you guys' Seth brain. There's so many beautiful Seth brains out there. We want them to talk Seth with us. Talk Seth with us. And that's what this is about. So I love you guys.
Well, we love you too.
There.
All right. So
we send some energy to Ron, who is recovering from his bypass.
He's doing well. We've spoken.
We're sending you healing light.
Yes.
Oh, Ron Card. Oh my God.
Yes, we've spoken to Ron. He's doing
well soon, Ron. Mm-hmm.
Let me jump in and explain if people don't know, and we'll go over time. For goodness sake, Ron Card, one of the most popular posters on Facebook, Seth sites, had open heart surgery. And we were in contact with him when all this was going on, and big, huge, they had to break his ribs open to 3 bypasses, and he says he's part cow now, and I ordered it. But he got through the surgery. He's doing it in a full Sethi health way. He's recovering so quickly. His attitude is full on beautiful. But Ron, we love you. Thank you for sticking around in our dimension.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
From people who've had heart surgery like this, they get a new burst of energy because they get their health restored. So we are stand back world, the Seth Force, Ron Card, is going to be even more ramped up. He's got a 3-month recovery window, but he's already Ron again.
Yes,
so
he is.
Be ready for Ron to the 10th power. So Ron H. Card, we love you. Please check out his Seth Force, The Adventures of Consciousness continues. That's his Facebook page. And of course, please check out our Facebook page where Ron also posts literally and maximally. And our Seth site is, our Facebook page is Seth Discussion Group at the Seth House. Our website is thesethhouse.com. I'm O'Shara, that's Kate. What else can you guys say about our beloved Ron Card? Please, guys, everybody jump in.
I'm happy when
we love you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, and have a beautiful and happy recovery.
Yes. And
We're sending you light.
Or more, he's listening.
Yeah.
I kept talking and I interrupted all of you. I'm so rude. So
It's
please,
okay.
whatever you wanted to say to Ron or about Ron.
Oh, he knows. Go ahead.
Audrey, go ahead.
I'm happy when I see his little green light on Facebook. It makes me happy.
That's funny.
Okay.
I got to have another Ron comment from everybody now.
Get well.
When he comes back, we're going to have to ask him what he thinks Seth would say about his recent medical issue.
Adventures, yes.
Yes. Well, because, you know, Seth.
Why he created that.
Right. You know, Seth talks about illness as being sometimes as a unifying function.
Right.
And sometimes illness is chosen for various reasons. So I would like to know how he thinks his situation fits into that.
Good point. Yeah.
Because I have you know, conditions that I know I have, and I absolutely know that I have created it, but I don't know how to stop. You know, I don't know how to create a better condition. So I'm sure that there's always work for all of us to do when it comes to creating good health.
And I'm working on it.
Me too.
I've got loads of work ahead of me, but I'm.
Kate, did you have some Ron comments? I think you were saying some things you wanted to say to her about Ron. Katie?
Miriam said love to Ron and love to Jason and love to all. Love you too, Miriam.
Love you too, Miriam.
Yeah.
Love to everyone on the Facebook page. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks
Joe,
for tuning in and watching us.
Joe is hoping that we have more people on simultaneously. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see. Jason said, and I don't know because I was gone, so I don't exactly know what we were talking about, but he said, he was talking to Miriam, he said, depends on when we choose our aspect above another, affecting another's reality in a way that's controlling their life or fate, separating themselves from a greater collective, a collective that is one of the mind. Let's see. Oh, there's a bunch of goodbyes. We love yous. Judy Snyder said, absolutely feels the resonance. Great group. Thank you. I'll be back. And Miriam says, are you sure we're behaving? So there you go. Anyway, I'd like to ask everybody to check out the SethHouse.com. Please subscribe, and when I get this video up, probably later this week, give us a thumbs up, comment on it. Everything helps. The more subscribers and interest we build, the better it is for the Seth House on YouTube.
And you mean on YouTube, subscribing on YouTube?
On YouTube, yeah. And I'll put the links. Yeah, I'll put the links here, but you can get to it from the Seth House. You can watch the videos either on our site or you can watch them on YouTube. So I hope everybody's enjoying them.
And as you were saying, to sign up on our email list, go to our Facebook page, and on most of the places, you can sign up on our email list, and you'll get emails from us whenever we email anyone again.
Oh my God, we say we do them monthly. We haven't done one since March.
Ooh.
So we're not gonna pull, stuff your inbox with emails. So don't worry about that. Sign up for our email list, and we have something to say, we'll say it, but we're gonna, politely.
Yes.
Wonderful. Anything else, Kate? That
I
to
think
get involved with the Seth House in Elmira, New York.
Yeah, I think that's it right now. Oh, my birthday fundraiser on Facebook is still going on. We're over $3,000 now, so please donate. When you donate through Facebook, we get 100% of the money, which is so helpful. The only other way we get that is if you send us a check or cash.
And all the money you donate goes to the Seth House. Kate and I do not get paid for this.
Oh, no.
No, we do this for the love of it and for the love of all these other Seth readers who are amazing, who we get to meet and talk to, and I'm going to cry again because it's so beautiful.
And so everybody knows what the money does go for. I mean, it goes for rent. It is being put aside for the purchase of the house.
We're trying to raise the money for the deposit so we can buy the house.
But in the meantime, there are a few bills that we have to pay. One of them is the rent. Another is the internet and phone. And
we have to pay for the attorney. We just paid him another.
Oh yeah, we just paid for the attorney. Yeah, but right now, I got to say, this is the best news. Right now, the Seth house owes nobody anything. Right? We have money in the bank to pay the bills next month. So we are totally solvent right now. So yeah, we're in good shape.
So keep supporting the Seth house, and you're going to be part of it becoming everything we're all collectively envisioning it to be. A beautiful place to honor Seth, Jane, Rob, and what happened, and to promote this amazing information that has changed all of our lives. So that's what the Seth house is dedicated to. It's a nonprofit 501c3, and it's about the love of Seth. And it's so beautiful.
It is.
Yes.
It's a cool thing.
It's a very cool thing.
It's like the coolest thing. I mean,
I can't wait until we're all together in that room.
Oh, that'll be so fun. That would be so fun.
I'll be there.
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
Wouldn't that be nice?
There is a time that we will all get together and we will all be sitting in 5 and we will Zoom the world.
Oh, that is too cool.
2021. That's
yes.
2021. We're doing it.
That sounds very good.
All right, ladies. Shall we sign off?
Yay. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye. We'll see you next week, same time.
Bye, Facebook.
Love you all. Thank you.
Bye. Love you too.